I thought I needed all this stuff to feel safe, like it anchored me somehow. But the truth? It was weighing me down. Letting go wasn't easy, but it gave me something I never expected: peace. In the next few minutes, I'll share what happened when I decluttered 80% of my belongings, what I kept, what I released, and how it changed the way I live every single day. If you've ever felt overwhelmed by the things around you, like your home is more of a burden than a comfort, you're not alone. This story is about more than cleaning up. It's about clearing space for the life you actually want. Whether you're just getting started or deep in the process, there's something here for you. If you've ever opened a closet, a drawer, or even walked into a room and felt that wave of overwhelm, you're not alone. Over the years, we collect things, memories, just-in-case items, gifts we never used. Before we know it, our homes feel crowded, and so do our minds. It's not just about clutter, it's about control. And sometimes, it feels like our stuff is running the show. But here's the truth: it doesn't have to. You can take back your space, one small step at a time. I'm going to walk you through what really happened when I chose to let go of 80% of my belongings. What stayed, what went, and what I wish I had known before I started. This wasn't just about tidying up. It was about changing the way I live and feel every day. If you've been thinking about simplifying your space, your schedule, or even your life, this might be the gentle push you've been waiting for. Because sometimes, letting go is the first step toward finally feeling free. Part A: the decision. It started with one quiet, uncomfortable thought. Do I really want my kids to have to deal with all this? Someday, I looked around the room, at the shelves filled with knickknacks I hadn't dusted in months, the drawers packed with papers I hadn't looked at in years, the boxes I had moved from house to house without ever opening. And for the first time in a long time, I saw it all differently. Not as comfort, not as memory, but as a burden I didn't want to pass down. That one question stayed with me for days. I couldn't shake it, because I knew the answer. No, I didn't want them to be the ones to sort through my things, to guess what mattered and what didn't, to feel guilty about letting go of items that had outlived their purpose. So I made a decision, not all at once, but quietly, intentionally. I told myself, I'm going to deal with this now, while I'm still able, so they don't have to. And the truth is, it wasn't just for them. It was for me too. I wanted to feel lighter. I wanted my home to feel like a place I lived in, not a storage unit I maintained. I didn't want to keep walking past items that no longer served me, or sitting in rooms that felt full but didn't feel peaceful. I didn't want my energy drained by stuff I didn't even notice anymore. So I started small. One drawer, one shelf, one morning. And with every item I picked up, I asked a new question. Does this still serve me? Or am I holding on to it out of habit, fear, or guilt? The answer surprised me. Some things were easy to let go. Old receipts, duplicate tools, clothes that hadn't fit in years. But others were harder. Things with emotional weight. Things that once meant something, but no longer did. And I realized, holding onto these things wasn't keeping the memories alive. It was keeping me stuck. I gave myself permission to let go, not because those things weren't meaningful, but because their meaning had already done its job. The love, the lessons, the memories, they live in me, not in the object. Making this decision, to declutter, to simplify, to let go with intention, wasn't just about reducing what I owned. It was about honoring what I value most now: peace, space, clarity, freedom. And it all started with one brave question. B. The sorting process. Once I made the decision to declutter, I knew I needed a way to stay focused, something simple, something honest. So I gave myself one rule. If it hasn't added to my life in the past year, I probably don't need it. Not just used in the past year, not just touched or moved around or meant to deal with someday, but added real value. Did it bring joy, ease, function, purpose? If the answer was no, I let it go. And the moment I adopted that mindset, something shifted. Decluttering stopped feeling like a chore and started to feel like a gift I was giving myself. Every drawer I opened, every shelf I cleared, felt like I was reclaiming a little more peace. But it wasn't always easy. Some things I'd kept for years without even noticing. Old cords for devices I no longer owned. Expired warranties. Buttons that didn't match anything. Little things I once thought I might need just in case. They were the easiest to toss. No guilt, no second guessing. Just space, cleared. Then there were the duplicates. I found 4 spatulas in my kitchen. 3 measuring cups, 2 full sets of towels, even though I only ever used a few. I started to realize how much of what I owned was just backup clutter. Things I kept out of habit, not necessity. But the hardest thing to let go of? I'll show you in just a minute. Stay with me. It's not what you'd expect. Still, I kept going. I created 3 piles: keep, donate, let go. I didn't allow a maybe pile. Maybe is how stuff sneaks back in. If I had to hesitate, that was my answer. And here's something that surprised me. The more I let go, the easier it became. Each item I released gave me confidence to tackle the next. There was momentum, clarity, even a little excitement. It was as if each item I removed from my space removed a bit of weight from my mind. One day, I found an old photo album, one I hadn't opened in years. My instinct was to keep it, of course. But when I flipped through, I realized I didn't recognize half the faces. I took out the few photos that still touched my heart and let go of the rest. I didn't need the whole album to honor those memories. I just needed to keep what truly mattered. That moment taught me something. We don't honor the past by holding onto everything. We honor it by choosing what we carry forward. So, if you're standing in front of a closet or a drawer and wondering where to start, try this. Backhand index pointing right. Ask yourself, has this added to my life in the past year? Backhand index pointing right. If not, ask, would someone else get more value from it than I am right now? Backhand index pointing right. And finally, give yourself grace. Letting go isn't about forgetting. It's about making space for what matters now. It's not about having less for the sake of it. It's about having enough. Just the right amount to breathe, to move, to live with intention. And in just a moment, I'll tell you about the one item I almost couldn't let go of, and what finally helped me release it. C. The emotional resistance. Not everything was easy to let go of. Some things surprised me with how heavy they felt, not in weight, but in meaning. There were items that stopped me in my tracks. I'd hold something in my hands, an old book, a faded card, a well-worn sweater, and suddenly I wasn't just cleaning out a drawer. I was remembering, feeling, reliving. Some things were harder than I expected, like my late husband's books, lined up neatly on the shelf, just where he left them. I hadn't opened them in years, but there was something about the way they sat there, quiet, reminders of who he was and what he loved. Part of me felt like letting them go would be letting go of him. But I also knew this. He wouldn't want them gathering dust untouched. He wouldn't want our home to become a museum. He'd want me to keep the stories that mattered and pass the rest on. So I chose just a few. His favorite novel, the one with his notes in the margins, the one he read aloud when we first moved in together. The rest, I donated to the library, knowing someone else might find comfort or wisdom in the pages he once loved. And then there were the birthday cards, decades of them. Some from people no longer here, some from younger versions of our children, scribbled with crayon and crooked hearts. Each one held a moment, a voice from the past. It felt impossible to toss them. So I didn't, not right away. Instead, I took photos of the ones that mattered most, scanned the handwriting, saved the words. Then I sat quietly and read each one before letting them go. Not all, just enough to create space without erasing the love behind them. Here's something I've learned. We can release an object without releasing the memory. The memory stays. The love stays. What leaves is the weight. And let me be clear, this emotional resistance, it's normal. It means you're human. It means your life has been full and meaningful. You're not doing it wrong if you get stuck in a memory. You're not weak if it takes you longer to part with certain things. You're just honoring the story of your life, and that deserves respect. But here's what helped me most. I reminded myself that the people I love and the ones I've lost don't live in these objects. They live in me, in the lessons I carry, in the stories I tell, in the way I show up every day. And with each item I thoughtfully released, I felt just a little lighter. Not because I forgot, but because I finally made space to breathe. So if you're facing something hard to let go of, an old letter, a faded photo, a jacket that still smells like someone you miss, pause, honor it, take a picture, say thank you, and then ask yourself, do I need to carry this forward? Or has it already served its purpose? Either answer is okay. This part takes the most courage, but it's also where the deepest peace begins. D. Breakthrough moment. After I finished the guest room closet, I sat down on the edge of the bed, looked around, and felt something I hadn't in a very long time. Relief. Not pride, not excitement, not even accomplishment, though those came later. Just relief. A quiet, gentle exhale that felt like my entire body had been holding its breath for years. That closet had been bothering me for so long. Every time I walked past it, I'd think, I should deal with that. But like so many of us do, I'd push the thought aside. Not today. Maybe next week, when I have more energy. And time passed. Things piled up. And slowly, without even realizing it, I began to avoid the space altogether. But now, with everything cleared out and only the essentials left, things that actually belonged there, I felt something shift. The room felt lighter. I felt lighter. And in that moment, I realized this wasn't just about the closet. It was about the mental weight I'd been carrying. All those unfinished decisions, unmade choices, unprocessed feelings, they'd been living in that space. And now that I had faced them, handled them, let them go, I finally felt at peace. This was my breakthrough moment. Not dramatic, not loud, just a deep, unexpected sense of calm. It reminded me that clutter isn't just physical, it's emotional. It's all the shoulds we carry, all the guilt from holding on to things out of obligation, all the noise that keeps us from fully relaxing in our own homes. Letting go of all that wasn't just an act of cleaning, it was an act of kindness to myself. And the ripple effect surprised me. I slept better that night. I walked through my home with more ease. Even little things, like making coffee in the morning, felt smoother. There was less tension in the air, less friction in my day. I started to see my home not as a project that always needed something from me, but as a partner in my well-being. A place that supported me, rather than asked more of me. And I realized, peace doesn't always come from adding more. It often comes from having less. Less clutter, less guilt, less noise, more clarity, more space, more breath. So if you're in the middle of your own decluttering journey, or just thinking about starting, know this. Your breakthrough moment might be waiting, just behind that one drawer, or shelf, or closet you've been avoiding. And when it comes, it's not flashy. It's not loud. It's quiet, deep, real. A moment where you realize you've been carrying too much for too long, and you finally decide to set it down. That's what freedom feels like. When I turned 65, I had a moment of clarity. I didn't want to spend this next chapter managing stuff. I wanted more time, more space, and a lot less stress. Letting go wasn't just about clearing shelves. It was about clearing the mental clutter that had built up over the years. Now, my days feel calmer. I spend less time cleaning and more time calling my grandkids, reading on the porch, or taking a peaceful walk. My home feels open, easy to breathe in. And the best part? Life feels lighter, not just around me, but inside me. That's the gift of letting go. Here's what my space looked like before: cluttered, crowded, and constantly calling for my attention. Every surface held something I didn't really need, but couldn't quite let go of. It was exhausting in a way I didn't even realize. And here's how it feels today: calm, intentional, and free. Every item now has a place and a purpose. My home feels like it reflects the life I want to live, not the one I've outgrown. And for the first time in years, it truly feels like mine again. What's one thing in your home you're ready to let go of? Tell me in the comments. I read every single one. If this inspired you, give it a thumbs up and subscribe to Simplify After 60 for more ways to reclaim peace, space, and joy.